I'll just use metal studs and then I don't have to worry about mold inside my wall. Well, it's not that simple, and I'm about to break down why that is. So for mold to grow, it needs three things essentially. One, it needs water, it needs moisture. Two, it needs something that it can break down and actually grow on. And three, it needs the right temperature. At all times inside of our house, we usually have the right temperatures going on, that 60 to 80 degrees. It can grow outside that, but 60 to 80 degrees. And we also have things that can break down everywhere. The metal itself, can't feed mold. Same with the plastic, same with the concrete. But what happens during the building process is we coat everything with dust, which does break down. Now, dust is really just referring to tiny little particles of everything, and some of those are going to break down. So that just leaves the final ingredient that needs to be introduced for mold to happen, which is our water, our moisture, which comes in two forms. It comes in liquid and it comes in vapor when it's carried by the air. So let's just take a look at, what will happen when we get these materials wet. We'll just let that sit for a minute. Now, if I give these enough time, all of them will evaporate into the air, whatever is not absorbed. But what I want you to visualize here is that the metal doesn't really absorb anything. It's almost none. The plastic absorbs almost nothing. You actually have a pretty good visual just here in the last 2 minutes that the concrete does absorb, and pretty quickly. This is old concrete, it's very porous. I also had a little sand on top, which probably helped it absorb faster. And then our wood, if this were to be wood that's been sanded really high to like 100 grit or 200 grit, you'd be able to see the areas that got wet actually swelled up, the grain raised. We can see right off the bat that these two are gonna absorb water and these two are not. But what about the vapor inside of the air? Let's take a look at how that might be a factor inside of our wall cavities or our attics, the places where we can't see, by taking a look at what happened inside of this drum over the last 18 months. This is a brand new steel drum. I have never taken the lid off before today. I bought it brand new, and it's been sitting outside my shop for a while, then inside my shop. And see, it's got this nice lip over the top, and before that it had this ring on it, real snug. And so I would say very watertight, not absolutely perfect, but from water coming from the top, very, very tight. But when I crack this open, you can see it is very rusty on top. When we take a look down inside, you can see there's water that's accumulated down there, and it's rusty. I don't see any mold in here, which is good, right? But what I'm showing you is that water is going to get inside things that are perfectly sealed. You can have the tightest house in the world and water will still get in. Not because it's coming in a leak, but because air carries water. And so what we have to think about is when that moist air comes into our wall cavities, into our attics, the places where we can't see especially, what's going to happen to it? Because if this weren't an absolutely brand new drum, and I believe this was maybe even a food grade drum, so it's perfectly clean inside when it comes, this would be moldy inside because there would be organic matter, stuff that the mold could grow on. Mold can't grow on metal unless there's some dust or some little junk on there that can feed it, because metal itself does not break down. So when I put this back, I'm going to leave a crack there to allow that evaporation to get there out, because we don't have that inside of the drum with the lid on in the same way that we don't have it inside of a wall cavity when the wall's closed up. Air could come in through tiny, tiny little gaps and work its way through enough to deposit the moisture, but it takes a lot more airflow than that for it to evaporate back out. So it oftentimes winds up trapped in there. So we can see really clearly that even if we seal our house up really well, air is going to get in and it's going to be carrying vapor with it. Now, out of our materials here, we saw inside the barrel, it doesn't absorb moisture at all, really. Plastic also doesn't. A 2x6 stud can absorb 1 to 2 pounds of water, and that will raise its humidity content around 10%. Now, wood will start to develop mold nearing 20% humidity, 17, 18, 19, you're getting towards mold conditions. But say you're only around 7, 8% inside your wall cavity, it's the winter, this particular stud can absorb a considerable amount of moisture before mold starts to develop. So let's take a look inside of our wall cavity to see how this plays out and how using different types of materials could cause a mold problem. So I've got my wall cavities here, my wood studs and my steel studs. Let's assume everything is the same. When I develop my moisture problem inside of the wood cavity, what do I have in that cavity that can help absorb the water? My insulation's not going to do much no matter what it is. Most insulation doesn't absorb a whole lot of water and store it well. Then I've got my drywall. Drywall does not absorb and hold water well, but it molds extremely quickly because it's got a paper face on it. Paper absorbs moisture but can't store much of it before it reaches a high relative humidity and it starts to mold. So my main buffering mechanism is going to be my wood studs. Let's say they can each do 1.5 pounds of water before they go past the relative humidity point at which they might start molding. Well, I can take 3 pounds of water inside of this cavity before it starts to mold. Whereas with my steel studs, I don't really have any buffering mechanism in here. Nothing in here can actually absorb and hold water. A lot of the stuff in here will still mold easily though. I've still got my drywall. It wants to mold very easily, very quickly. I've got my insulation and I've got my steel studs, which they may not want to mold easily, but remember, if they've got dust on them from the construction process, they could still grow mold. And so I'll give an example. When I broke open my house, it was an old water damaged building. It had like 3 feet of water in the basement for years, according to the neighbors, and you can see the rot mark on the stairs. Well, inside of those wall cavities, I had all sorts of horrid mold problems, but almost none of them was on the wood. Most of it was on the drywall. And that's because wood can buffer humidity, and also because of the sap in it, it's actually somewhat resistant to mold. So building your house out of something like steel studs may seem like a good idea, but it might actually work against your house's ability to control that moisture. The same thing goes for concrete. I see a lot of people talk about masonry houses. Well, masonry is an awesome way to build, but you need to remember that it wicks moisture like crazy. It doesn't help buffer it from the air. Let's go over some examples of materials that will help buffer the humidity in your home besides wood, and how you can incorporate these to control the humidity and prevent mold inside your house. So here we've got our materials that are all hygroscopic, meaning they will absorb that moisture from the air and help us manage it, all right? We've got our clay-based products, all right? So this could be like a clay plaster, or it could be like a fired clay, like bricks or terracotta tile, all right? For example, our Mediterranean homes are known for being really good at naturally managing moisture. That's because those terracotta tiles and the different materials they use absorb it from the air when it's moist out, and they release it when it's dry. Now, the more we seal up these materials with sealers, the less they're going to do this. So our terracotta tile can be quite porous and they can be absorbed down into it. And so if we seal this up like crazy, it's going to lose some of its effect. So for example, some rooms like the bathroom or the kitchen, you might want it sealed pretty well and it's not going to be that helpful. Whereas with the hallway, you might be able to get away without sealing it or using a natural sealer that still leaves it fairly open. Same thing goes for our wood. You know, our wood floors do need some type of sealing because they will absorb things really badly. But if you use a natural oil, for example, tung oil or linseed oil or some mixture of the two of them, it's buffed on and then it's buffed back off. And so it fills the pores in the wood and helps protect it from absorbing things it shouldn't, but it still can absorb some moisture from the air. But if you finish it with a plastic finish, water-based or oil-based finish, it pretty much loses that potential completely. All right, our plasters, we mentioned clay plaster, also lime plaster. Lime products in general do a good job of helping buffer that humidity the same way, whereas our cement-based products, they don't absorb from the air very well, and they also store for a long time. We want to keep our cement products as dry as possible. And then lastly, this is an insulation board, if you couldn't tell, of course. Yeah, our natural insulations will help us buffer humidity really well. So things like wood fiber or cellulose, actually. Anything that is fairly natural can absorb quite a bit of moisture, store it, and then release it. The key to anything like cellulose insulation or wood planks helping us buffer the humidity is that we need to keep them below a certain threshold, which usually is 17 to 18%. Things start growing mold. We don't ever want our houses getting quite that wet inside. But, you know, under 15, mold is not really going to be a concern. If you're noticing a theme, it's more the natural materials that buffer humidity a lot better than the synthetic ones, than the man-made ones. If you're interested in this sort of thing, I've actually got a free guide to alternative building methods and materials. It's linked down below. It's going to go into a bunch of stuff that you don't see in Home Depot, but it's actually still pretty accessible, and we can do it in our homes to help reduce the amount of chemicals and the mold problems that we have in there. Go click the link below, put in your email, and it'll get shot right over to you. Thanks for watching, guys, and let me know what you think down in the comments.